Hey guys, Owen Jones here from Tommy Docks. Today we're going to be putting together our Simple Shore PWC or jet ski ramp kit. As you can see, I already have the box top off here. I'm just going to show you here what you need. You need a drill, you need a 9/16 socket, as well as a 10mm socket. So let's get into it. All right, so we've got our box taken apart. We've got all of our components laid out. As you can see, we have our wheels here. We have our wheel axles here. This is your main trunk, which is a hexagon. And we're gonna start with step one. What I wanna make sure is that you guys have all of your hardware. These are your little rings. This is the tool that comes with to add them. And then the hardware for assembly is right here. They are labeled for each step. All hardware, important to note, is stainless steel, and the rest of the material is aluminum. Okay, so referencing your instructions here, we're on step number one. What we've done is gone ahead and taken out the primary trunk as well as the connection piece here, and we've slid it in to line up with the fastening holes. Hardware-wise, we're gonna be using the 4 3/4 inch stainless steel bolts, nuts, and fender washers. One thing I wanted to mention is when you run the bolts through, please make sure you have your trunk oriented top up, and make sure that you run through the head on the top so your bolt ends up on the bottom. We've run our bolts and we've tightened and fastened them down. One thing I wanted to mention, I did grab a wrench. These are nylock nuts, and you're gonna need a wrench to be able to really get them fitted. Now that we're done with step one, we're ready for step two. This is the second part of the primary trunk. Make sure that you have it oriented like this, with this cuff towards the top. And the holes will line up there on the gap spacer, and we'll run our other two bolts and nuts. All right, we have our trunk assembled. We have these bolts tightened. We're moving on to step number three. You're gonna need your wheels and your axles. The shorter axle is gonna be what the wheel goes on. It is tight fitting, it's meant to be. You'll notice there's a recessed ring after you put the wheel completely on. That is what you're gonna use to put on your stainless steel C-clips to keep the wheel locked in place. So I'm gonna do all the wheels and axles now before I add them to the trunk. All right, so we've got our wheels on all of our axles, as you can see here. One thing I want to point out, there are two shorter axles. These are both used for the bullnose or the entry point on the PWC ramp. We're going to start putting in our axles now, and then we're going to add our C-clips. Our C-clips, also called snap rings, will go on the back using our pliers that are included. All right, so we have finished adding all of our axles and wheels. We've also added our C-clips or snap clips to all of them, so that is all secure. We did go ahead and flip this around, so this is now the entry point of the PWC. What we're gonna add here is our cross brace bottom and the spacer that goes between them. We're gonna add them with our 7-inch stainless steel 3/8 bolts, washer, and nylocks. Okay, we've got these bolts tight now. we are going to move on to, if you're keeping track in your instruction manual, we're going to move on to step number 5. Step number 5, this is when we're going to use our axle for our upright. We're going to dry set it first, run our bolts, and then we'll add our upright. All right, so we went ahead and flipped our PWC around. This is now the neck of the ramp, or the shore side of it, so you can get a better angle. I went ahead, I have 4 sets of 5" 3/8 bolts, again with a fender washer and a nylock. We're only going to need 2 for this step. We're going to slide on our axle and then drop in our bolts and of course our nylocks. All right, so we have our axle in. We do have those bolts tightened. Now we're gonna be starting step 6. This is when we're gonna use our upright. The way to orient yourself here is your 3 holes are gonna be for your winch. That's gonna be the highest part. Your 2 holes are gonna be for the base. So you want your base going down through this way. Again, it's 2 5" stainless steel bolts and nuts, just as the last step. Step 7, we're going to be adding our final support rest. This is on the top side, or the shore side of the lift. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to orient it so that these holes end up like that in the upper corners. And that's going to allow us to add our cross bracing in the next step. All right, so we're down to step number 8. What I wanted to show you here is the winch. It has a nylock for the lever. You need to unscrew that, add your lever, and then you can rescrew it. If you want to, you can fully tighten this. For our purposes today, we're not going to. Then we're gonna need our 3" bolts, our 3" bolt and fender washer with, again, the nylock nut. One of the tips is to thread the one that ends up under the nylon strap here first. It makes it a lot easier when you're installing it. All right, so we've finished installing our winch and tightened those bolts. We're on step 9, our last step. All we're gonna be adding here is our support braces. One correction I'd like to make, it's not a 10mm socket, it actually is a Phillips screwdriver, which I'm sure all of us have at home. You're gonna be using 2 different size bolts, same Phillips head. One, the longer one, is going to be used in conjunction with the ratchet trunk. And the other, our shorter one here, is going to be used with the support bottom. All right, guys, thanks for watching. As always, videos like this and others live on our website, TommyDocs.com, in the how-to guide section. You can always email us, info@TommyDocs.com. Thanks.